Guys, we're back for another exciting episode of the hashtag Wednesday Match Play. And tonight's guest is going to be awesome because I've known this guy on Twitter for a long time, and this guy is all over the place. And he works for the LPGA Tour. He's on tour with the Symetra Tour. He knows who Kendall Dye is, who's been on this show. So we got that going for us. Kendall's a big proponent of this show, and maybe we should have her back on because now that she's a tour winner, I think she won a few weeks ago. So it's fun to tie all that back together here on the hashtag Wednesday Match Play presented by Eat Sleep Golf. But tonight we got Bret Lasky from the Symetra Tour, and I could easily say he's from the LPGA because I think his business card says LPGA, but I'm not going to talk about it because he knows a lot more about what he does than I do. So why don't you take a couple of minutes, tell us who you are, what you do, your relationship with the LPGA, the Symetra Tour, and Bret, welcome to the hashtag Wednesday Match Play.
Yeah, what's up, man? Thanks for having me. Appreciate it. Yeah, I've been with the tour for 4 years now, and my primary responsibility is to travel with the Symetra Tour, which is the qualifying tour for the LPGA. So this week we're in Daytona Beach, and it's our last tournament of the season, 22nd of the year, and this week's a big week because 10 players will sort of realize a lifelong dream, and it's the same thing as the Web.com tour, where these guys grind and grind and grind and grind, and finally get that opportunity to play on the PGA Tour. And it's the same thing on the Symetra Tour, where these women, some of them are right out of college and are new to this and are just so good that they're able to, in year one, kind of find their way to the LPGA. But others, like a Kendall Dye, like you mentioned, who's played on tour for a number of years. She's so close. She's 13th on our money list right now, and with a big finish this week has an opportunity to possibly get back to the LPGA Tour. So it's really an exciting time for us. In a way, it's the hardest time because you never want to see the girl that finishes 11th on the money list and misses out on that, so close to that dream, but just comes a little bit short. But you're so happy for the girls that finish, 1 through 10 and get an opportunity to play on the big tour next year.
That's really cool, and I'm glad that you tied it to the Web.com because that's what it is. Like, it's literally the road to the LPGA, and that's a tagline that you guys use, and I love that. And we'll talk a little bit more about that later, but what's the process to getting on the tour? Like, how does a girl sitting at home that's like, hey, I'm pretty good and I can play golf, like, how do they go from hitting balls in the range and playing 18 holes on a Saturday to getting on the Web.com? I'm sorry, onto the Symetra Tour.
Yeah, it's a good question. So there's a 3-stage qualifying tour process. Stage 1 takes place in August. Stage 2 is coming up in a couple of weeks, and then Stage 3 is in December. Most of the women that get through Stage 1 will have pretty good Symetra Tour status for the following year. Those that finish 1 through 20 at Stage 3 earn LPGA Tour membership. Those that finish 21 through 45 earn partial LPGA Tour membership, and those that finish outside the 45 have really, really good Symetra Tour membership for the following year. So the qualifying process is just absolutely grueling. I mean, you're talking about 1 week of golf, 5 rounds. You've got to perform. If you don't, your following year is going to be a mess, to be quite honest. I mean, if you go to Stage 1 in 2017, let's say, and you don't play very well 5 rounds, well, your 2018 is not going to be what you want it to be. You're going to have poor Symetra Tour status. You're likely going to have to play, some of the really smaller tours where the money's even less than what it is on the Symetra Tour. You might play some state opens and things like that, but it's just not going to be sort of that quick path from Symetra to LPGA that you're looking for. So I don't envy those girls, man, that go to qualifying school because, again, it's like 5 rounds for your life. Like, imagine, as like a director of marketing, if, your boss came in and said, look, you've got 5 days to do this, and this will determine your year, so it's kind of like that. And it's really tough.
I can't even imagine. And you talk about that journey, right? Going through those rounds and the traveling aspect, like, you also have to think that they have to pay that way. Like, I think that gets overlooked that, like, oh, they're on the Symetra Tour, so they're rich and they stay in the Ritz-Carlton and got all this money. And it's not how it works. And there are guys on the PGA Tour that sleep in their car and eat frozen pizza because that's what they can afford, right? Like, it's not this glamorous road. The road to the LPGA Tour is not glamorous. And I almost want to see, like, a documentary created, like, taking a girl from, the bottom to getting to the LPGA and, like, what that takes. And you see it because you're traveling with the tour, right? So, what's it? Do you know what a day in the life of a Symetra Tour is like? Like, do you understand? Do you get to see that a little bit?
Yeah, all the time. I mean, it's definitely a grind. It's funny, you know the show HBO Real Sports?
Hmm.
I actually reached out to them a couple years ago about possibly doing something like that, and we were pretty close, but we just kind of decided as a tour that maybe it wasn't the best thing for us because you kind of lose editorial control, and who knows kind of what the messaging becomes. But yeah, I mean it's just a very, very interesting life. And I was just actually talking to Erin Lee, who was an All-American at UCLA, has won 3 times on our tour, and is going to be on the LPGA last year. And she told me, I think it was 2 days ago at our tour championship, that she almost quit playing golf last year because when she got out on tour, the lifestyle was just kind of overwhelming. I mean, when you go to college or you grow up playing junior golf, I mean, you sort of have this routine of, mom and dad takes you to practice, you go to lunch, you hang out with your friends, you have sort of this still homey feel to life. But when you hit the road, I mean, life sort of kind of turns upside down on you, right? I mean, she grew up in LA, right? And then she's going to Garden City, Kansas, and Decatur, Illinois, and Sioux Falls, South Dakota, and places in Florida and the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. And, it's missing family and her boyfriend. And, all these different factors kind of, change when you do this. And she told me that she was just overwhelmed by it, and she almost sort of gave it up. But fortunately she didn't, because she's headed to the LPGA next year. But that's just a perfect example of how you don't really know until you do something, what it's going to be like. People think, oh yeah, pro golfer, like this must be amazing. But sometimes it's a grind. And I think any minor league sport, Ricky, to be honest with you, I used to work in minor league baseball. It's the same thing. I mean, those guys, they're an A-ball players making $1,200 a month, traveling on a bus that doesn't, sleep more than 10 people overnight, getting into the next city at 3 in the morning, and having to get back up at, noon to catch the bus to the next game. So that's just kind of the minor league life. And I think it's a good weed out process, because it really kind of shows you, all right, like who's able to do this and who wants to do this to get to the glamour of the big time.
Yeah, that just sounds crazy to live that lifestyle. But the people that I don't want to say put up with it, but that get through that, it makes them who they are today. And when they get to the LPGA Tour, it does become easier. And then you get a win on the LPGA or whatever, and it does become easier as you get through. Like it's a journey from the bottom to the top, kind of. And it's interesting to hear that it's like that. And you assume that it's like that, but to know that it's like that helps put a little bit more of a face to what the tour is and what these girls go through on a weekly basis. So that being said, that's a good segue into the next question, is kind of what's the tour schedule look like? Like you said, 22 events. Like, is it all like Florida, Southeast? You mentioned a couple places in the Midwest. Like, where's the tour going? Are you adding new stops? Like, kind of what's that look like currently and in the future?
Yeah, it's a good question. So in 2013, we had 15 events on the Symetra Tour. And since Mike Nichols and his team, Mike is the CBO of the tour, they've done an awesome job. Now we're up to 22 in 2017. Tour was playing for about 1.6 million 4 or 5 years ago. Now a little bit over 3 million. So almost doubled in that span. And the big thing for the tour is, we want to play on better golf courses. We want to have a good geographic flow, and we want to have bigger purses. I think those are sort of the 3 directives that come from Mike. And I think over the last 3, 4, 5 years, I've kind of seen that. I started in 2014. And now the tour plays, really, really solid golf courses. There's no sort of courses that you sort of scoff at. I mean, these are, really, solid championship caliber golf courses that we play. There's a pretty good geographic flow. We play out in the West Coast early in the year. We play a lot in the Midwest over the summer months. We come back to Florida at the end of the year, like we are this week with the Tour Championship. So, and I think from a adding perspective, I think always. I mean, we have a team of, David Lafreni and Mike Nichols and Tim Kramer really sort of run the let's pursue new tournaments. And they come from everywhere. I mean, Tim is a guy that went to college at Emporia State in Kansas. His dad coached under, I'm drawing a blank, Coach Snyder, Bill Snyder at Kansas State. And so he's sort of super connected in the Midwest and Kansas. And last year we had 2 events in the state of Kansas. So like these tournaments come out of like sometimes a little bit of nowhere, but it's pretty cool to see, companies and golf courses really get behind the Symetra Tour and say, hey, this would be pretty cool to invite 132 women who are chasing their LPGA dream and allow them to play on our golf course. And, a company like a perfect example would be like Murphy USA. It's a Fortune 500 company. A lot of people probably know them for their convenience stores, their gas stations, and they love it. I mean, the CEO is a big golfer. He was at our tournament on Sunday, walking around, came up to me, Bret, who's winning? Who's behind? So I mean, these are people that fly in private jets and have a big business and Fortune 500, all that stuff. But when they're able to sort of realize how much they're helping the women, I think it really sort of validates what they're doing.
So you're all about the segues. I love this. So let's say, like, I work at Tiburon Golf Club,
Sure.
right, in Naples.
Yeah.
We host an LPGA event, which is the Tour Championship for them. It's the CME Group Tour Championship. We host the PGA Tour with a shootout every December. Let's say that in June we wanted to host a Symetra Tour event. One, does that process look like? And two, what is the kind of I guess that's the process. Like a club, do they reach out to you? Do you go to them? Like, how does a club get a Symetra Tour event?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think more often it's probably us reaching out. But for example, there's sort of 2 big things, right? When we want to go to a market and host an event, there's 2 big things. We need a golf course and we need a title sponsor. The title sponsor generally covers the purse. So, for example, this week we're playing the Symetra Tour Championship, and Symetra, the insurance company that overwrites the entire tour, is the title sponsor, and the purse is $200,000. So the title sponsor is generally responsible for the purse. So in this case, $200,000. Then we need a golf course, and golf courses can be tricky, as you know. Like for example, we have a course in Arizona where we play the Gateway Classic in Mesa. At Longbow, which is a fantastic golf course for us. But Arizona golf, there's certain times of the year that they'd love to have the Symetra Tour. But then there's certain times of the year where they have play stacked from 7 a.m. to 3 in the afternoon, Monday through Monday, and it doesn't make financial sense for them to host a Symetra Tour event. So, I think we go through this process of trying to plug and play. Like next year, Mike will say, okay, we have 21 or 22 events coming back, and here are the holes in our schedule. So right now, for example, we have some holes in the spring where we need to fill events. And you never want to have a big gap either, right? Because you don't want, the season to start in February. You have, 3-4 events that lead into March and then nothing in April, because then the players, what are they going to do? You get rusty. It's just not a good flow. You get out of rhythm, all that sort of thing. So I think he really looks at sort of really trying to make sure we only have maybe 1, maybe 2 weeks off at a time. I think this year the most we had off was probably 2 weeks at any time of the year. So it's really important to have the title sponsor. It's really important to have a golf course that is excited about it. Maybe if it's a private club, you want a membership that's really excited about it. You don't want a membership that is like, man, these women are coming in here and taking up our golf course. Instead, you want, man, this is super cool. We've got 132 professional golfers that are coming to play our golf course, and we get to see what our golf course, how it stacks up or how they talk about it or that sort of thing. So I probably rambled there, Ricky, but that's kind of how it works.
Well, no, and I like that, because I can see, like, if it made sense to have it, and I'm not the decision maker by any means, but if it made sense in I hate to say it, but a May, June, July at Tiburon, that'd be cool, right? Like, because we have 2 golf courses, so when the LPGA and the PGA are here, it's in the middle of our season, so we are stacked from the time the sun comes up till the sun goes down. But if we were able to do it an hour off season, so like, this week you're in Daytona, like you're not far from us, right? It's still hot, and it's a shoulder season, and I would love to just explore that, whether it can come to Tiburon or if they would even want to bring an event to Tiburon. I think that it could be a cool like I'm a big fan of from a marketing perspective to have a professional tour events. Like that's a big deal. Name another property in this country that has the LPGA and the PGA Tour in a matter of 3 weeks. Like you can't. So
and
that's cool.
You have the same build too, right? Like the build doesn't change.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They play the same golf course. The guys, I mean, granted, last year the LPGA scores were like 18 under, 17 under, won it. Like that's good golf, but it's not an easy golf course. Like even our members play it because it's not an easy golf course. Like I mean, we have no rough, which is awesome. We have a ton of water. I mean, it's Florida golf, so you have to have a ton of water. But like it would be cool just to explore what that would look like and just to have our name in the hat for a potential place to host a Symetra Tour event. So I don't know where that or who that process starts with, but who knows that.
Yeah, no, that's pretty cool, and I think you know, as the tour is growing, it's kind of becoming like, I think, pretty cool to put the tour's name next to, you know, a golf course and a community, and it's almost like a totally different thing to a degree. I mean, you know, the pro-ams are still massive. I mean, for the Symetra Tour, the pro-ams are everything, right? Like Wednesday, Thursday for us that's the moneymaker. You know, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday for us, you know, it's important. We want a great golf course. We want great competition. We want the community to come out and enjoy professional golf. But for us, I mean, we talk so much about how great our players are at dealing with, or not dealing with, but just playing with sponsors and people that come to play in the Pro-Am, because I mean, without that, there's nothing. I mean, that, you know, we're not selling millions of dollars worth of tickets or merchandise or concessions during our weekends. But, you know, when we're able to sell, you know, a couple grand or $3,000 for a Pro-Am team or whatever it amounts to be in the different markets, and that's where our tournaments are able to, you know, break even or make some money for charity or whatever the business model is for the tournament. It's really all about that Tuesday, Wednesday, or Wednesday, Thursday, or all day Wednesday, whenever the Pro-Am is. It's all about that experience.
So the road to the LPGA pretty much writes itself, right? Like that's what you are, the road to the LPGA. Who came up with that, and how long have you been using that, and what success have you seen from that tagline over the years?
That's a good question. It predates me, but I don't think by much. But it's definitely, it's exactly like you said. I mean, it's just the perfect way to describe the tour. I mean, it's nothing else but that. This is the place where women come to try and achieve a lifelong dream of playing on the LPGA. And it's the perfect path because we think, our opinion is that, you know, Q School is one thing. It's 3 tournaments, it's 5 rounds here and there. You know, a woman could have a, you know, hot week or a hot month or whatever you want to call it and get up to the LPGA. But we truly believe that by playing 22 times and by traveling all over the country and by learning how to live the tour life, you become more prepared for the LPGA. Now, the numbers still suggest that there's a lot of Symetra Tour players that graduate, go up to the LPGA, and don't have the success that we hope for. But that's sort of the reality of golf. I mean, there's plenty of web.comers that go to the PGA Tour and are back on the web.com and go to the PGA and sort of have that, you know, back and forth kind of thing. And that's just sort of golf. And I always think that, I mean, it's just the toughest thing. It's like you realize your dream, right? You finish 5th on the Symetra Tour, you realize your dream, and it's almost like now the work just begins. Like you are just beginning to touch the surface of what you need to do to actually have a very successful career on the LPGA. So it's kind of like, I don't know, it's hard. It's just, but it's the same thing in the big leagues, right? Like if you're in minor league baseball and you get the call to the big leagues and you're a pitcher and your first 5 outings you give up 25 home runs, well, you're gone. You're going to go back to the minor leagues. So, you know, it's just kind of one of those things that just because you get there doesn't mean you stay there. You got to perform once you get there.
My buddy Wesley Bryan went through that. Like I remember when he was just up and coming with the trick shot videos, and then he got on the web.com, then he played well there, and now he's playing well on the PGA Tour. Like, that dude's just, I mean, he's kind of a, I want to get him on the show just to, I don't know if we even talk about the PGA Tour or if we just talk about trick shots, because that dude and his brother are just dialed in with trick shots. So
You know what's funny? Okay,
that.
so I'm trying to think of who his sister, their sister, plays golf, and I forget where, but she caddied for a player at Q1 this year, and the player told me that she'll likely be at Q school next year. So maybe there'll be another, I don't know, version of the Bryan brothers, the sister version, or I wish I knew her name, but I don't.
That's awesome. So the Symetra Tour had their year-end awards recently. Were you there, and what are some of the awards that were given out?
I was. It was really cool. It was actually at where the Daytona 500 is, which is in Daytona Beach, which is pretty awesome. It was in their 500 club, and actually we got to do like what they call hot laps, where you get in like, you don't get in a NASCAR vehicle, but you get in like, let's call it a BMW, and you know the guy cranks it up to 140 miles an hour, and you zoom once around the track. So it's pretty sweet. All the players got to do it. But Charlie Reimer, Golf Channel co-host on Morning Drive, was our MC, which was really cool. And, yeah, we had a ton of awards. We gave out our Rising Star Award, which went to you, Lou. We gave out our Penske Driving Awards. We gave out our Eloise Trainer Award, which kind of goes to somebody that shows perseverance and courage, and it's voted on by the players. So that was really cool. Laura Wern won that award, and she had back surgery 2 years ago and won last year, just a year removed from back surgery. And you kind of think about the golf swing, right? You know, kind of what Tiger's going through and all that. Pretty impressive to have back surgery and then win a year later at the professional level. So that was really cool to see her get voted upon by her peers. But the party it was sweet. We also had this this board, and so it's called the Volvic Race for the Card Money List. Volvic, obviously, the golf ball. And we had 1,668 Volvic golf balls stuck onto this board, and it spelled out Volvic Race for the Card. And it was super cool. Credit to Cheryl Fish for putting that together.
Now, did you count the golf balls, or did they tell you?
Because no, they just told me. I asked her today. I was like, "How many golf balls were on that?"
That's awesome. But she counted.
Yeah. She knew it. Like literally, she texted me back in like 35 seconds. So she knew.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So, who are some of the players that are going to graduate to the LPGA this year that we should keep our eye on? I mean, you got some pretty big names. Kendall is one of them. I mean, you got some big names playing. So, who should we keep our eyes on?
Yeah, I think there's several. I mean, there's 5 women that are locked for their card, regardless of what happens this week. Benyapana Fatsafan from Thailand, Celine Boutier, who's from France and played college golf at Duke. Nana Kortz Madsen was an Olympian from Denmark. She played 1 semester of college golf at South Carolina. Erin Lee, who we talked about, played at UCLA, played on the Curtis Cup team in 2014, and Hannah Green from Australia.
3 wins this year.
Yeah, she's a player, man. And you know, that's another cool thing about the Symetra Tour. It's becoming more and more global. I think I looked in 2010, the top 10 was like literally America. And this year there's like 7 different countries in the top 10, because I think more and more players are saying, all right, if I'm not going to get through Q school, I'm just going to come over to the U.S. and I get that I won't necessarily break the bank on the Symetra Tour in year 1. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, you know what? I'm going to take a hit with the bank account maybe for year 1, but I'm confident in my game that I'm going to get to the LPGA this way. And, you know, I talked to Hannah a couple days ago, and she went to Q school and was disappointed that she didn't get her LPGA Tour card, but she said it was a good detour for her. You know, she said, you know, that it was a good detour, and that who knows what would have happened if she would have went right to the LPGA. I mean, that's daunting. I mean, think about it. You're 20 years old, you go right to the LPGA. All of a sudden, you're standing next to Michelle Wie, Lydia Ko, Suzanne Pedersen on the range, and you know, all of a sudden you start looking around, maybe trying to tweak stuff in your game, or you see the Golf Channel cameras everywhere, and You see the galleries everywhere. So I think, for a lot of players, it's kind of nice to sort of ease your way into, you see a little skybox on 18. You start to see some galleries. You start to see some media, but it's not like this massive crush of overwhelming at one time. So, I think the Symetra Tour is a really great way to sort of ease into life as a pro.
So, Tour Championship this week in Daytona. Talk a little bit about the course, the event, kind of what it means, like what happens this week. Like, it's a big week for you guys.
Oh, yeah, it's massive. We start tomorrow, Thursday through Sunday, 4 rounds, 72 holes, $200,000 on the line, $30,000 for the winner. There's 23 girls that have a chance. I think for the most part, probably 7 or 8 are pretty safe. I think the stat that we always tell everybody is every year since 2008, somebody from outside the top 10 has jumped inside the top 10. And obviously, if that happens, the vice versa is true as well. So there's always that drama at the last, Sunday. I mean, I remember Rachel Rohana telling me that her card came down to her last putt. I mean, that was it. If she misses the putt, she doesn't get her card. She made the putt. She got her card by, I don't know, $200-300, whatever it was. So there's so many cases that happens. So it's a huge week for us. We play at LPGA International. We play the Jones course in Daytona Beach, which is actually cool for us because our headquarters for the LPGA are literally like 2 blocks away. So it's great for our staff to, they get to come out and see the Symetra Tour and see some of the rising stars that'll be playing up on the LPGA next year.
That's really cool. That's cool that you're so close to home too. So you go to a lot of events. Are there any that you don't go to?
Well, this year I missed one.
Oh no, which one and why? That's crazy.
Yeah, well, it was the Island Resort Championship, which is always one of my favorite events and has been going on for years, and they've got a great staff. But my fiance and I actually went on a cruise, which was awesome. We went with her family and had a blast. And sometimes you just need a break, man. I mean, it's just it's crazy. Like I basically missed all of September here at home, which is tough for, when you have a significant other and, when you have a family and things like that, this lifestyle becomes, very difficult. But, we also enjoy kind of being on the road, and we have it's probably 10 to 12 people that travel with us from week to week, and that sort of becomes your family, right? I mean, because nobody has a family on the road. You stay in hotels, you don't have your own bed and your own, everything. So that kind of becomes your family during the season. But, that was the one event I missed. But I'll be honest with you, Ricky, I definitely had a great time on the cruise.
Okay, so you missed September because you were on a cruise. Cool.
No. I missed one event. I missed September because I was on the road.
Oh, I missed September because of Hurricane Irma. So I just wanted to make sure that you were on a cruise having a good time, and I missed you because, all right, that makes me feel a little better. You're on the road. So the LPGA has done, just in the last 2 or 3 years, like there was a point like 4 years ago that I was like, the LPGA is either going to turn into the Asia PGA or they're just going to disappear, right?
Yeah.
And they hit a turn. And the last 2 or 3 years, it's just been like all social media and just embracing that, right? And the PGA Tour has not done that yet. And the PGA Tour is still very, I mean, Ian Poulter made a good point of that this week. And granted, the person that had the cell phone doesn't need to have a cell phone making noise while he's trying to play golf. But at the same time, you shouldn't be reprimanded for taking a picture on a Wednesday during a practice round of your favorite player, right? So the LPGA has done a really good job of embracing the technology and the social sharing aspect. So has the Symetra Tour kind of taken a little bit of the lead with that too, or kind of what's your stance with digital sharing and social media and what you do on a daily basis?
Yeah, I think so. Tina Budd Barnes is the social media director for the LPGA, and she does a really good job. And Alexis Abraham is her right-hand woman, and they both do a great job. And on the Symetra Tour, we really feel like we have an incredible amount of creative freedom. We're not on Golf Channel. We're not tied by anything from a digital perspective. So, for example, this week, we are doing a Facebook Live broadcast of the final round. Our tour championship our card ceremony will be on Facebook Live as well. And when I say we're on Facebook Live this week, I want to clarify that I'm not talking about, my cell phone here. We have a production truck coming on site. Our producer's Chris Olmeyer, who many people might know his father, Don, who unfortunately passed away recently. But Chris produced many, many LPGA broadcasts over the years for ESPN and ABC, and now he has his own sort of production company. And we've got a crew of about 20, 25 people coming in to do this. And for us, Golf Channel network TV for the Symetra Tour is just not in the equation. I mean, you're talking about near $1 million, for something like that. And that's just not in our near future. But what we see with Facebook is an opportunity to showcase our players to a worldwide audience for a much more affordable price. I say that, obviously, Golf Channel, they do a fantastic job, and I think they just understand that, we're sort of the qualifying tour. We're, not the big time. And we did it once at the beginning of the year. We're doing it once at the end of the year. And for us, the goal is to do it more and more, because we just think that it's a great way for example, the player that won the first event, she's from the UK. It was basically the first time they've seen her play professional golf, right? Because she's played on the Symetra Tour for a number of years, and the Symetra Tour is not on TV. So for them to watch their daughter win a golf tournament, even though it was on Facebook, is still pretty cool. And we had, about 6 cameras, and we basically cover, 14 through 18. And we had, this time we have Amy Rogers, who does LPGA.com and does a great job. She's the host. Gail Graham, who's a 2-time LPGA winner, she's the analyst. And then Bailey Mosier, who's a co-host on Morning Drive, she's the sort of on-course interviewer. So, that's just kind of one way that we're trying to find new ways to attract audiences to the Symetra Tour and then to the LPGA. And, we think it's a great added value for our tournaments too, because, our Florida's natural, and that area can say that, we had like 60,000 views or whatever it was, can say that, hey, there were some serious eyeballs on our tournament and our town and our company that weren't on our town, company, and golf course last year. So that's kind of one example. And I think, that's kind of a good future for us, kind of a future goal to see, well, how can we do this on a weekly basis? Because after we did the first one, what's the natural question? Well, okay, so the second event of the year, how do I watch? So we got a lot of that, and that's a good thing. But, for us, it's kind of figuring out how to do it more often, how to make sure it's, financially feasible for us to do at different spots.
That's awesome. And please throw Periscope into the mix, because Periscope was around a lot sooner than Facebook Live. Like, Facebook Live had some hurdles. And I do a lot of tests where I'll do something on Periscope and see how many people tune in, and then I'll do the exact same thing on Facebook Live just to compare. And yeah. Facebook Live is slowly starting to take over, but I do enjoy Periscope. So
yeah, me too.
I've got one thing. Twitter.
One thing we do, like tomorrow morning, you'll see on @Road to LPGA. I mean, we'll go to the range and just kind of roam, and we'll do it on Periscope. And tomorrow morning, at about 7:30, 8 o'clock, we'll dial up the Periscope, and hopefully before people are getting to work, they can check out some of the girls in action, swinging, and getting ready for their tournament round. So we definitely try to utilize all that stuff. I mean, Snapchat and Insta stories. And I mean, our Insta stories are pretty good. I mean, all of a sudden, you see over 1,000 people are viewing these things. So we're like, whoa, that's kind of a, I don't know, game changer, but it's like, all right, we need to explore this stuff more. And, who knows? I mean, right now it's just me out on site from a media perspective, but I think, the future is to have more people out there because there's opportunities without any restrictions to do what we want and to show what we want and to try to get more people involved socially. Because honestly, Ricky, for us, just to give you an example, like Sundays, I'm more focused on social media than getting my press release out. Like, I'm going to get the press release out, and that's important to disseminate the information to the media. But for us, it's like nobody is going to know that Kendall Dye won this tournament unless it's somewhere on social media. And you know how that happens. One person sees it, another person sees it, and then all of a sudden it spreads. But if we're not putting that stuff out there and we're just relying on, a press release and get the pictures to the media, I don't know. To us, like the social media, that comes first now. Not, maybe 5 years ago, the press release might have come first, but the way I see it, it's social media 1, press release 2.
Awesome. And I can't agree with you more as a social media guy that is obsessed with all of those channels, Instagram. Even though I'm not like instant on Instagram, personally, I've not seen value in stories, but you guys are doing a good job with stories, so keep it going. And I have a buddy in LA that I basically live vicariously through him because he does all of these cool things, and he sold his company and made like $1 billion, and now he gets the ability to live with, overlooking the hills of Hollywood or whatever.
Must be nice.
Yeah, it is. That's why Instagram stories, they make me happy. Now, I didn't tell you before we went live, this was going to fly by, and it did. We're already over time, but I don't care because this is an awesome conversation. But before I let you go, we have this segment called The Back Nine. It's just 9 fun, random questions.
Let's do it.
This episode is going to be on YouTube before you go to bed tonight. It's going to be on iTunes and Google Play tomorrow. It'll be shared to Google Plus and the Google Plus golf community, which, wink, wink, you need to get more involved there, Mr. Social Media. We got almost 26,000 members in the golf community on Google Plus.
Wow.
So would love to get you there and get you active. It's a very, very active community too. So the team with Eat Sleep Golf does a good job of posting these and sharing the videos to Facebook and all that stuff too. So maybe put the Google Plus golf community on your list and see how that does for you. But are you ready for your back nine?
Let's do it, man.
You're a golfer, right? What golf ball are you playing?
Well, actually, you know what? Surprisingly, I'm not much of a golfer.
You play golf? Like, I know you.
Yeah. Okay, I'd play a Pro V1.
All right. Wait a minute. It says the guy that's like, oh, I'm not much of a golfer. Oh, yeah, I play the best golf ball on the market.
So we do a what's in the bag, for all the players that win, and that they all tell me Pro V1. So I want to play what the winners play.
I like that. Who is the single best player, not just this year, but overall, the single best player on the Symetra Tour right now?
So not this year.
Just in general, that's currently on tour. Who is the best player?
Currently on the Symetra Tour, I'd say the best player is Hannah Green.
Dude, 3 wins this season alone. Like, and she's so happy too when she wins, right?
Oh, she's the best. She's the best.
I create graphics for Tiburon every Monday of the weekly event winners, and I always enjoy seeing the Symetra Tour winners, like the pictures and all that.
Oh, so, yeah, you do a good job with that. Is that you?
Thank you. That's all me, right? And I try to tag appropriately, and I enjoy seeing like the smiles on their faces because I know how much those wins mean to those girls.
Yes.
Now, if you say The Legend of Bagger Vance, you're lying. But what is your favorite golf movie?
One
day someone's going to say Bagger Vance. I'm going to feel bad making fun of them.
I don't know.
You just like the most thought-provoking question of the night.
Yeah, I don't know. You stumped me on that, right? Like, I feel like I've rambled for 30 minutes and then I can't answer that question.
Tin Cup is pretty good. I mean,
what's that?
Tin Cup is pretty good.
Okay, Happy Gilmore, yeah.
Happy Gilmore. All
okay,
right.
I'll go with that.
Let's have a drink. Beer, wine, whiskey.
Probably beer. I'm pretty simple, man. Bud Light, and I'm good.
I had a Coors Light earlier, and I don't. To a guy that's tried almost 10,000 unique beers, a Coors Light is just like my go-to, right? Like
really?
That's beer that tastes like beer. So. All right, now you're not a golfer, but you play golf. You play a Pro V1. How far do you hit your driver? Be honest.
Dude, my club head speed is terrible. That's what everybody kills me on. Like they say, I swing like so slow. Let's go 200 yards.
All right.
Yeah.
So now you're the kind of person that probably will say 3. Have you ever had an ace?
No.
No
Zero.
offense, but good, because I play a lot of golf and I've not had one either, so that's good.
How about this? Hannah Green has 10.
Shut up. That's
And she's
dumb.
20 years old.
That's just dumb. Like
Yeah.
I've been close a few times, but like I've never been like that's
Yeah.
10. That's silly. Tell her the next time you see her that Ricky says that's silly.
Yeah,
And
I
smile.
will. I will.
What is your favorite PGA Tour major?
Um, I would say the Masters.
Yeah, just because, right?
Yeah, it's the best. That's the best. I don't know. I like there's something about the music too, like the intro music on TV. Yeah, like
And Jim Nance's voice. I
yeah,
mean,
he's good, man. He's real good. I used to be a broadcaster, so I'm like into all that stuff. And like, what I love, like the intro for like the NCAA basketball tournament. Da 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 da.
yeah.
Like
Oh yeah.
that's the best. It's like that when you hear that, you're like, it's tourney time. Or when you hear the Masters theme music, it's the Masters.
Now, you may not know that I am Tiger's biggest fan. He's all around you.
I
He's
see
right
that
up
right
here.
there.
Yeah, it's disgusting, the collection of his stuff that I have. If his face is on it, I want it. Now, do you think he breaks Jack's record? Why or why not?
So what does he need? 4?
He needs, 4 to tie, 5 to break.
How old is he?
41, 42 if he plays again.
42?
He'll be 40. He'll be 42 this December. Yeah.
I mean, I think the better question is he going to win one more?
Now, okay, if he wins one more,
Okay.
does that inspire him to go on and break it?
Yeah.
Because if he can win one more, he can win 7 more.
Correct. Because if he wins one more, that means he's back to his like Tiger, craze.
Like the dude didn't forget how to play golf. He's finally taken the time that I think that he needed to get healthy, which he's never done when he's been hurt in his career. And he is ripped. Like I don't know how many of the pictures and videos you saw of him at the President's Cup. The dude is ripped. Like up, like he can barely put a shirt on. He's got so much muscle. So I'm hoping, like as his biggest fan, and if he doesn't break the record, I've got a big bonfire we're gonna have because I've got a lot of stuff with his face on it that is worth nothing. So he better go out and break that record for me.
Yeah.
So
I'm gonna say no. I'm gonna say no, but
no, but I like that.
No,
there's a sliver of hope there.
Man, I don't know, like he's the best, man. I'm with you. Like a lot of people, it's kind of one of those things. Like either you love him or you hate him sometimes. But I'm with you, man. He's done so much good for the sport, and I mean, I feel like there wouldn't be the PGA on Golf Channel or ESPN or ABC if it wasn't for that guy. So, I mean, Tiger, yeah, I'm with you. I'm a total fan. Yeah.
You said no, but you said but, and then you had that. So I'm gonna let that slide as an acceptable answer.
Yeah.
Hey, thank you so much for coming on the show. This has been fun. But your last question of your hashtag Wednesday Match Play presented by Eat Sleep Golf is what's next, man? I mean, you have the Tour Championship this week, but the next 3, 4, 6, 8, 10 months, what's next for you and the Symetra Tour?
Yeah, well, for me, I'm getting married, so that'll be nice in February, and then the Symetra Tour starts up next year, and we'll be traveling. It'll be a 38th year of the Symetra Tour. A lot of people don't know that it's been around for that long, but it's just great, man. It's a really cool way to work and live and meet people from all over the world. And I don't go to the biggest towns in the world, in the country, but we go to some pretty cool spots and meet some pretty cool people and get to work with some pretty cool professional golfers. So I consider myself pretty fortunate, and I just appreciate people like you that kind of support the smaller people in the world, not the always the PGA or the LPGA. It's nice to hear people that are willing to support the web.com, support the Symetra Tour, support the Cactus Tour, support everybody that's kind of, trying to make the big time.
Dude, that's awesome. Well, I can't thank you enough for staying up so late to come on the show. It's been fantastic learning more about the tour. I had no idea it was that old. So that's fantastic to know. Congratulations on the wedding. That's fantastic. You've got a busy week this week, so go out there and have some fun. And as always, on the hashtag Wednesday Match Plays, you have to remember to eat, sleep, golf.